There was a video a while back on the VOX channel that talked about a confusing rhythm in Radiohead's VideoTape song. The video made a great detective story about the confusion, and you should definitely check it out on the link below. But to quickly summarise, the song had what sounded like a simple 4-chord piano pattern. After some investigation, teacher Warren Lain worked out that the song is actually conceived with the piano chords falling on the syncopated 8th note before the beat. And the funny thing was, this caused such confusion that even Tom York, the lead singer of Radiohead, was filmed at a gig struggling to get his head around the intricacies of the music they'd created.
Temporary loss of information.
To make it even clearer, here is a simple beat that it sounds like the chords belong to. And here's a beat that's closer to that hidden beat as the band conceived it. We'll get back to this song and what makes it so special in a moment, but when I watched the video, I was reminded of a whole bunch of rhythmic illusions that I've noticed over the years in different genres of music, where you completely mistake where the downbeat of the piece actually is. I think the first one I noticed was in the Brand New Heavy's self-titled 1990 album, which starts like this. Pretty clear where the downbeat is, right? But as soon as the bass arrives, you realise you've got things horribly wrong. To understand what's going on in these illusions, we need to think a bit about how we perceive rhythm, and in particular the idea of meter. So a pulse is a short unit of time, just like a tick of a metronome. But a meter divides that pulse into stronger and weaker stresses. W.T. Fitch calls musical meters trees in time, because of this subdividing structure which progresses from strong main beats to ever smaller and weaker beats. Most genres of music play a gentle but constant game with the listener's expectations, missing out a stronger beat here, emphasising a weaker beat there. But there are different degrees to which the game is played. Level 1 is straight undifferentiated pulse. There's some evidence to suggest that even animals can perceive pulse, but none to my knowledge that they can detect hierarchies of stress beneath that. Level 2 starts to have a meter, but has very little syncopation. This is the category of music most enjoyed by young children.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
By the time they reach adulthood, most people, whether they realise it or not, will have built up a sophisticated understanding of meter and where they can expect the stronger and weaker beats to fall within certain types of music. That just leaves one final category of the highest level of rhythmic sophistication. So most music is playing with our expectations. It's just doing so to varying degrees depending on the rhythmic sophistication of the music. And these rhythmic illusions we're talking about stem from a composer or performer pushing that sense of meter to its limit. Here's another example from Herbie Hancock's Hang Up Your Hang-Ups. Both of these examples come from the jazz-funk tradition, and that isn't so surprising. Both jazz and funk have rhythmic ambiguity baked into their style, which probably reveals their debt to the complex polyrhythms of West African music. One pop music example, Bring on the Night by The Police, still shows the African influence, this time in Stuart Copeland's reggae-inspired drumming. Notice how all the examples so far have used the same hi-hat pattern, made up of 2 short 8 notes followed by 1 quarter note. Hearing it alone, it's impossible to tell whether the quarter notes come before the beat or on the beat. Throw in an off-putting accent and you're all set with your rhythmic illusion. What may surprise you is that this kind of trick actually goes a lot further back. Brahms, for example, isn't known as one of the funkiest of composers, but he is always shifting the beat in his music. Phrases that you think are at one point in the bar suddenly emerge somewhere else. And here's one from Joseph Haydn, written in 1789. The Haydn is very much in the same mould as the pop and jazz examples. Its purpose is to teasingly trick the listener. The Brahms, however, is slightly different. He's not really putting the downbeat in the wrong place to have a bit of fun with us. It's more of a compositional device. We, the listeners, may not actually realise we're on the wrong beat of the bar, but Brahms certainly does, and this forces him to squeeze and stretch his music until he gets himself back on track. It's one of a range of techniques Brahms uses to keep his music in a constant state of development. Finally, let's look at a couple of examples from traditional and world music. The Scotch snap is a rhythm associated with the traditional Scottish dance, the strathspey. It reverses the normal pattern you find in music with a dotted rhythm. So instead of the usual long, short rhythm, you have the short accented note on the beat and the longer note second. However, if you mix the two together, as tends to happen in the strathspey, it can become a challenge to find the downbeat. Here's a tune that researcher Tagg found illustrating this point. Do check out Phil's fascinating video all about the Scotch snap, linked below. The last example, and perhaps the most rhythmically sophisticated, comes from the forests of Cameroon. Like the strathspey, here the ambiguity is built into the essence of the music. I was so fascinated by this piece a few years ago that I used the rhythm as a starting point for one of the dances in my clarinet quintet Gumboots, and I'll try and post a video about that soon. This is the Orchestre Baka Gbine, forest living Baka musicians on the Cameroon-Congolese border. The opening guitar is in a 9/8 pattern with a 3+2+2+2 rhythm. To my ear, the downbeat sounds like it's at the start of the group of 3, but then a contradictory bass drum comes in on the 3rd 8th note of the pattern. What's fascinating and what stands out in the Radiohead example is that in the recorded version of VideoTape, there's no moment when the true downbeat is actually sounded. When the drum track briefly emerges later in the song, it just gives us a backbeat with nothing on the downbeat. There's a danger that some people might find this a bit of a dumb thing to do. It's like setting up a joke and withholding the punchline. And I have to confess, I do enjoy the video of the so-called Bonnaroo version of the song, where the real beat is heard with slightly more emphasis. But part of me also really admires the brazenness of what they've attempted here. To my knowledge, it's the only example anywhere where the syncopation lasts so long it outlasts the piece itself. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear from you if you have any ideas for future videos. And please do subscribe, like and comment below.